This is probably going to be a long video. I just love this book so much. Hey everyone, it's Anna, and I'm back with another vintage cookbook. This time I'm reviewing Betty Crocker's Cookie Book. I adore this cookbook. If Betty Crocker's Cookbook for Boys and Girls is my most remembered cookbook from my childhood, this one is a very close second. It's just gorgeous. I love it. I mean, look at the cover. So colorful. These are all photographs of cookies. Like, this is so tempting. This book is Christmas to me. I know it's not specifically a Christmas cookbook. You could use this book at any time of year, but at Christmas time, you know, you're baking more cookies, you're giving gifts. This cookbook came out a lot in our house. One of my favorite things about this book is the first section, which they call Cookie Primer. And it's basically teaching you about the different types of cookies, you know, drop cookies, the slice and bake refrigerator cookies, filled cookies. But at the bottom of each page, they have photographs. Woo, hello. They have photographs. Wow, this is very hard to film, but here I am. They have photographs of like all of these cookies. I remember just flipping through this as a kid. I still look through this today. Look at that. It's so much fun. The weird thing is it doesn't correspond to the recipe on the page. So it says coconut chocolate meringue bites, page 116. So sometimes, you know, they would put cookies down here that were on the page, but not always. Oh, you know what? I didn't even say when this book was published. This book was originally published in 1963, but I happen to have a reprint from the early 2000s. My mom does have an original copy of this book. Because I have a reprint, there's like a little message from the publisher in the beginning. We're excited to bring you this treasured edition of Betty Crocker's Cookie Book. The recipes are exactly as they appear in the original 1963 cookbook to reflect the heritage of American baking. Eating habits may have changed, but the fond memories of sharing the delicious cookie recipes from this cookbook remain the same. Some ingredients and food safety concerns have changed over the years. This will come into play later. You may want to try these recipes using today's ingredients and methods, or ask mom or grandma how they make these recipes still taste so good today. Basically what they're saying is you can't get some of these ingredients. Food practices surrounding safety, etc. have changed. This sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Figure it out. This also has a lovely portrait of Betty herself. The early 60s Betty. There's a recipe here that I wanted to point out. You know how much I love when they call out the teens. Teen Time chocolate nut bars. I don't know if these actually appear somewhere. That's another thing. I don't think there's a photograph of every single cookie in this book. It is a little bit like chaotic the way that it's arranged, but you know, I love that sometimes. Oh, I definitely remember making these one Christmas. These candy cane cookies. Very cute. I don't remember them tasting especially awesome, but they look great. The visual effect is perfect. The recipe is basically a sugar cookie recipe that's flavored with almond. And then you divide the dough, you dye half of it red, you keep the other half white. They've got the diagram of how to make them look like candy canes. And then you just crush up some candy canes and sprinkle them on top. So they're not like peppermint cookies, they're more just like sugar cookies. But again, they are very cute. This is so full of just beautiful photographs. I was looking at this last night. I just want to make these. Like, I just want to make all of these. The thing about these recipes though is that they make a huge amount of cookies. You're seeing like 4 dozen. These make 5 dozen. I don't have, oh my goodness, this one right here, I'm not even going to attempt to say it. This is for 6 dozen cookies. They're probably small cookies, but my goodness, like I don't have enough people to give these to right now. I always remember seeing these and I thought they were so cute and I wanted to make them so much. Right here, these are called Merry Maker cookies. And look how bright they are. And they're kind of layered. I just love how they're decorated. Oh my gosh. So these cookies are some of my favorite cookies. My Aunt Jane would always make these. And I remember my mom and I would help her sometimes. I tried making these myself years ago and they just didn't turn out as well. I'm talking about cream wafers. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a sandwich cookie and the little cookie rounds are pastry dough. They're just flaky and delicious. And then you fill them with a pretty basic buttercream that you tint pink or green. You could do any color you want really, but I think usually you would see pink or green. So these are cream wafers. And they're just adorable. I just love them. I could eat so many of these. They're very like dainty and they feel really special. Oh, another one. Oh gosh, I remember seeing these and I loved them. These gingham dogs and calico cats. So again, we have a sugar cookie, basic sugar cookie that you paint with food coloring. I think this one is a dog? I don't know. This one right here looks like a dinosaur to me, but I know it's not supposed to be a dinosaur. This one is intriguing to me. I don't know if I'll ever get around to making it, but I'm very curious about it. Hard cooked egg cookies. Have you heard of these? I don't know anything about these. I imagine they are sort of a yellow in color because it has 3/4 of a cup of sieved hard cooked egg yolks. They sound like a really old fashioned recipe to me. There's no picture of these either, but again, this recipe makes 8.5 dozen cookies. I know I can cut things in half, but even if you cut that recipe in half, that's over 4 dozen cookies. We do have a photograph of a teen party set up. It's a cookie party for teenagers. I just love this ice cream container. But then there's a really cute note from mom here, and I don't know if you can read it, so I'm gonna read it for you. Have fun, please clean up the mess. Mom. Do you think they're gonna listen? I don't think they're gonna listen. I like it when people write in cookbooks and it's like finding a cute little treasure or, you know, a suggestion, an opinion on the recipe. My mom and I tried making these and they were awful, and she actually wrote yuck in pencil in her copy. This recipe is under diets low in saturated fat. Chewy oatmeal cookies. I do not recommend them. I just remember they were kind of like an oily mess. They didn't really expand or do anything. They were just kind of like oily oatmeal mounds. It was so bad. There's a little section in the book that is called Cookies for Children. I mean, aren't all cookies for children? There's like a little intro here that I wanted to share. Children love cookies, and mothers, not to mention grandmothers, friends, and neighbors love to bake cookies for children. I love to bake cookies for anyone. Here are storybook cookies to bake and enjoy while retelling childhood's favorite tales. Nutritious and delicious cookies for growing youngsters are included. Nutritious cookie. They don't label the nutritious cookies, so I'm not really sure which ones they are. I absolutely love this chapter in the back of the book. Betty Crocker's Best Cookies. It's lots of cookies through the years, basically. It's like a cookie yearbook. The best cookie of 1880 through 1890, the best from 1890 to 1900, which happened to be cinnamon jumbles. I'm trying to find when chocolate chip cookies kind of came into the picture. Ooh, 1920 to 1930, it was brownies. And then we go to molasses crinkles for the 30s. Aha, finally. Chocolate chip cookies were the favorite cookies between 1935 and 1940. The recipe I'm making today comes from Company Best Cookies. Today I'm going to be preparing fudge meltaways. It's these right here. Normally I prepare recipes that I've never made before. I have made these a few times before, and I just wanted to share them with everyone because they're so good. They're very easy. It does take a bit of time because there's some refrigeration of the layers that needs to happen, but they're totally worth it. I absolutely love them. Let's get started. In order to make fudge meltaways, you need quite a few ingredients, and some of them actually repeat themselves depending on which step you're on. So I'm gonna list everything in the description down below, and I will just mention each ingredient as I add it. So first step, we have to melt 1/2 cup of butter and 1 square of chocolate in a saucepan. So I've added my butter to this saucepan already, and now I am going to add 1 ounce of unsweetened chocolate. Ooh, that was loud. I think we are almost melted. So next I have to blend in several ingredients. 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, 2 cups of graham cracker crumbs, and 1 cup of coconut. Also, we are adding an egg. I know that in the early section of this book, they talked about food safety, how things have changed. I've never made these without the egg. You're welcome to do that. I'm using a pasteurized egg and I feel pretty okay about it. I don't think I'm gonna get sick from this. I never have before, but please do what you feel comfortable with. You don't have to add the egg if you don't want to. I am going to put my coconut in. That's 1 cup of coconut, sugar, and then these are 2 cups of just regular graham cracker crumbs. I just crushed up about 1.5 individual sealed packs of graham crackers to make these. That gives you about 2 cups of crumbs. You can also buy crumbs already crushed up. Here's where I'm gonna add the egg. It's gonna be quite dry at this point, but you just kind of have to work everything together a little bit. But you can see how many crumbs and things are in there right now. One thing I forgot, you wanna add a teaspoon of vanilla. This mixture is still pretty dry, but you can see how the butter is kind of coating everything and it's coming together. Once this is well mixed, we're gonna press this into the bottom of a 9 by 9 inch pan. You can use a larger pan as well if you wanna make shorter cookies. So I'm gonna turn the heat off. Got my pan over here. I'm just using a 9x9 glass baking dish. I put some wax paper in the bottom so that hopefully I can kind of lift these out when they're all done and then cut them a little more easily. So we're just gonna go ahead and put all of these crumbs in here. Oh boy, I'm making a mess. What's new? I'm always making a mess. It's kind of a big mound of crumbs, but what you're gonna do is just press this into the pan and make it really compact. Just be careful not to burn yourself. This is still pretty warm. Sometimes I use the bottom of a glass. So my bars are gonna be just a little bit thicker because I chose to use the smaller pan. You can also add chopped nuts to this. I left them out, I just didn't feel like having them. And it's delicious with just the coconut and the graham cracker crumbs anyway. And you wanna make sure, you just gotta really press that down, make sure that it's really compact in there. So here's what we have so far. For now, I'm gonna put this in the fridge and let it chill for a while and just kind of firm up. While our first layer is in the fridge chilling, I'm gonna work on layer 2. Mix 1/4 cup of butter, milk or cream, confectioner's sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla together, and then you spread it over the crumb mixture. 1/4 cup of butter in the bowl. It's very soft. You wanna make sure that this is very soft. It'll just make things easier. And then I'm gonna add my teaspoon of vanilla, and then I have a tablespoon of heavy cream. I'm gonna blend these ingredients together first before I add the powdered sugar. I just kind of wanted to combine those things a little bit. We need 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. It's getting everywhere. It's like snow, it's Christmas time. Can you use confectioner's sugar without it getting everywhere? I don't think so. Someone prove me wrong. I promise I'm not deliberately just like dumping this all over the place. This is really like me trying to do this. Okay, we're gonna sprinkle you in. I like to do 1 cup at a time so I don't have just a big explosion of powdered sugar everywhere. And you're gonna wanna start this on a very slow speed anyway. Oh, it's coming together. So that is 1 cup of powdered sugar in. That's kind of what we got. I'm gonna scrape this down. It's like a very soft icing right now. It's gonna stiffen up just a little bit more. Powdered sugar, 2nd cup. Not any neater with this cup either. Cool. It's very cool, very normal. Our 2nd cup of powdered sugar, and that is going in the bowl. This is a sticky mess, but I promise that these are worth it. This is looking very crumbly at the moment. So I'm gonna scrape the bowl and see how it comes together. I might add just a little bit more liquid to this because this is definitely like more dry than I remember. You know what? I am gonna add just like a little drop of cream to this. Yep, I think that's gonna do it. This is better. So this is like a very thick kind of icing consistency almost. Like this is some stout stuff. Like you wouldn't want to spread this on a cake because it would tear the cake up. But this is gonna be our 2nd layer. I'm gonna check the first layer in the fridge, and if it's ready to go, we'll go ahead and spread this on top. This has been chilling maybe for like 30 minutes, and it's completely set now. We can take our 2nd layer. I don't know exactly what this is called. I'm just saying it's kind of like a thick icing. Put that on top and spread it out. I like to drop this in multiple places on top. It is quite thick. If you put it all in one place and then try to spread it, sometimes it kind of breaks up that first layer. An offset spatula is very handy in this case. You know, I've been singing the praises of offset spatulas forever. See, it's a little tricky. You just have to be patient with it. And you're gonna end up with a really thin layer. This is not super thick, so spread this out quite a bit. And it doesn't have to be perfect either. If you get a few pieces of graham cracker or coconut stuck in there, you're gonna cover it with another layer anyway. Nobody has to know, and I won't tell them. I was just thinking about it, and I had no idea how Betty Crocker centric my childhood memories were until I started doing these videos. This cookbook, Betty Crocker's Cookbook for Boys and Girls, like super influential in my life. Yeah, you can see I'm definitely not getting this perfect. Yes, oh, it's beautiful, even if it's not perfect. I know these are gonna be delicious. So here we are. We have our bottom layer of coconut, graham cracker crumbs, butter, sugar, etc. And then we have our 2nd layer of some kind of thick icing. I'm gonna let this chill some more, and we're gonna move on to our 3rd and final layer. Our final layer is by far the easiest. It has 1 ingredient, 1.5 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. And you just wanna melt that in a little saucepan. I'm hoping these freeze beautifully because I'm making a full batch. And I probably could eat them all myself, but I shouldn't, though I'm not gonna judge you if you do. Please be sure to use unsweetened chocolate for this. I'm sure you could probably use sweetened chocolate, but it would be very sweet with all of these other ingredients. This looks like a very tiny amount, and it kind of is. You're not gonna make this layer very thick either. And it just kind of balances everything else out. Yeah, I think we're done with that. So I'm gonna take the pan out and then spread this on top. Remember our pan with 2 layers? It's about to get a 3rd layer. This is another job for an offset spatula. Just kind of drizzle this over. Drizzle, drizzle, drizzle. Scrape it all out because there's not a ton in there, so you wanna make sure and use all of it. You do want to act kind of quickly. I mean, it's not super overly urgent, but you don't want this chocolate to firm up before you've actually spread it out. So you can't really walk away from this at this point. All right, so we're gonna spread that. And again, you want to be kind of ginger and careful. Yeah, you don't want to bring up any of that layer underneath. So just take your time. I just said you have to act kind of quickly, and then I said take your time. Just make sure that your chocolate doesn't firm up before you're done spreading it. Teeny tiny little thin layer. And if you're not getting absolutely perfect edges, it's fine. I actually like to cut all of the edges off, then I can eat them. But that way you get like a clean edge when you cut your bars. Yeah, this chocolate is already starting to sort of firm up because all of the layers underneath are kind of cold. I think this is about as good as we're gonna get. So guess where this goes? Back into the fridge until this top layer is set. So I've let this chill after putting the chocolate on for probably about 30 minutes. I did take it out of the fridge and let it sit for just a few minutes. You kind of want to cut these when it's not completely set. So let's pull this, whoa. Whoops. Let's pull this out of the pan. Being able to lift it out, if you put parchment or wax paper or something, it just makes it so much easier to cut. Aha! Ooh, your hands are gonna get sticky. So you can see it's just one sheet, and you can see where I like didn't get chocolate all the way to the edges, and that's fine because we're gonna cut them off. I like to use these 18 by 2 clear plastic gridded rulers. They're very flexible. I use these when I am sewing, doing craft projects, things like that. So you can get these usually at a craft store. I'm gonna lay this here just to get kind of a cleaner edge and just mark it off. And of course, you don't have to do this step. These are perfectly delicious as is, but if you're gonna give these as a gift or something, sometimes you wanna make them look a little bit neater. Yes, okay, and you can see the beautiful layers in there too. I'm not gonna cut all of these yet. Who wants to watch me cutting these up on camera? Nobody wants to see that. But I just wanted to show you how I kind of sometimes do this, just to make them a little bit neater. Don't worry, these all get eaten. I make sure of that. So we've kind of cleaned up the edges a little bit. So now I'm gonna decide how many of these I wanna cut. If you do this in a big pan, it's supposed to make something like 3 dozen bars. I'm not gonna get quite as many out of this small pan. So I'll mark it there. I'll link to one of these rulers down below. I use them for so many things, and I have 3 or 4 of them. So that is down the middle. I'll eat this bar, I promise. I'm done cutting. So we have a nice little square. It's nice. It looks a little bit nicer than if I were just to cut these up inside the pan. But now it's time for the best part. I'm gonna give these a taste, even though I know they're super good. It's so good. They're very sweet. I can see why you might want to cut these really small if you made a big pan of them. I know what the white part reminds me of. It reminds me of the filling in an Oreo cookie a little bit. The base layer isn't super duper sweet, so it kind of balances out that middle kind of icing layer and then the unsweetened chocolate on top. Super delicious, very easy to make, even if they are a little time consuming. To be honest, if I wasn't filming this probably would have taken me an hour for the whole process. I love these cookies. I hope you love them too. If you do end up making them, please let me know in the comments down below. I cooked a recipe from Betty Crocker's Cookie Book. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos. I have a great time making them every week. If you like this video, you might like my other videos, and you might consider subscribing to my channel. If you'd like to see what else I'm up to, you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is _cookingthebooks_. Thanks again, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.